Greetings and welcome to another episode of Q Points Podcast. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
And my name is Jay Ray, sometimes known by my government as Johnny Ray Cornegay III. And Sir Daniel, we are going into the Wayback Machine into a time in music history where we got to watch some of the most popular contemporary artists strip down what they were doing on record and give us these acoustic style performances. And it was a whole moment in time.
It definitely was. At this point, MTV, we've moved into the late 80s, early 90s. I think for historical context, at this point, MTV is the video platform that all the record labels are sending their artists to, because at this point MTV has diversified a lot of their programming. It's not just music videos. They have live shows. They have different types of programming to keep you tuned into MTV 24 hours a day, which is what they wanted because it's on cable. Yes. And also, as I stated, it's the late 80s going into the early 90s. And at this point, I think, J. Ray, the pivotal moment that we can think about is the Milli Vanilli situation.
That is exactly it. That's why we needed this.
They were caught lip syncing, or accused of lip syncing, and it just became a moment of exposure where a lot of artists were like, oh, well, that's not us. We can really do the thing. We play instruments or we can really sing. And so MTV created a program called MTV Unplugged. And as Jay Ray said, this was a moment for artists to come and really show off their chops, whether it's playing acoustic instruments, nothing but a guitar, a drum, maybe some keys, and that's it, and the vocals.
Yep.
Well, also MTV is evolving racially as well, because at this point, remember in the early days, MTV wasn't featuring any black artists until Michael Jackson kicked in the doors. David Bowie talked really showed them up and embarrassed them on television. Like, why don't you have black artists on this channel? And so MTV has evolved. We've got Yo MTV Raps. We've got some R&B programming that comes into play here and there. But we've got more artists from the black community, from the black music community, showing up on MTV on a regular basis. Hip hop as a culture is in like full upward trajectory at this point. And so MTV has no choice but to include programming and tailor programming around black artists.
Yeah.
And one of the complaints, like we go back to the whole Milli Vanilli thing, and one of the complaints was that, rappers don't really play instruments and rappers aren't really musicians.
Yep.
So hip hop heard that challenge and said, hold my beer. We're going to come and do not just MTV Unplugged, we're going to do Yo MTV Unplugged.
Yeah.
Yo MTV Raps Unplugged. And J Ray, before I let you go, I want to give props to Ted Demi, Fab Five Freddy, Todd One, Dr. Dre, and Ed Lover, because behind the scenes, some of them were front facing, but behind the scenes, they really had to fight for this representation. So I really want to give them props. And Ted Demi fought for it as well. He was the white guy that helped push it through. So shout out to those, and rest in peace to Ted Demi.
Unplugged was a very interesting and unique concept for the moment. If we think about the 1980s and the early 1990s, everything for the most part had moved electronic in some way, shape, or form. Very keyboard heavy, drum machines, not a lot of actual instruments in the acoustic traditional sense, right?
Right.
What Unplugged gave artists the ability to do was to reimagine these songs in front of this smaller audience. It was a much more intimate crowd. But it also gave them an opportunity, quite frankly, to your point, to show off their chops. Like, can you rock this kind of crowd? And to that point, there are so many unplugged performances that I absolutely love. But when I think of black MTV unplugged performances that really like made an impact on me, and I was like, oh snap. Mariah Carey and Trey Lorenz doing I'll Be There
Oh
was
yeah.
such a moment in time. Now, we should also contextualize this moment for Mariah Carey. This is really key. Mariah Carey has become a superstar by the time she does Unplugged, right? Her first album goes crazy. She's now a year later releasing her second album. She is in a crystal case, like in terms of how she's being treated, right?
Hmm.
And people have questions about, can she really do that? Like, is that a thing? That thing that she's doing on the records, can she really do that thing?
The whistle notes.
The whistle notes and like all of that, because Mariah records, Mariah's a studio rat. Those records are heavily produced. She loves being in the studio, but can she reproduce it? And what we learned in the Unplugged performance was she absolutely could.
Well,
And not
yes.
only could she reproduce it, she showed us who her influences were, like through these performances. Like, you clearly got to see like Mariah in this way. So even just her and Trey doing I'll Be There, which was a super interesting choice, was unique. But Mariah bodied and Trey Lorenz bodied too. And it was like not even a thing. Mariah, it was like, no, do that. I need you to do your thing. And it became just like such an important hallmark performance of what Unplugged could be. It showed black artists like, oh, if you go here and show what you can do, it'll give you something else. And Mariah got a whole other hit out of this with I'll Be
She
There,
sure
but it
did.
was from the Unplugged release.
She sure did. I think I want to say, so there's two things that I want to harken to as far as like what really stands out to me as far as MTV Unplugged performances. The very first MTV Unplugged performance that really made me sit up and take notice was Nirvana.
Oh, so
Nirvana's
yeah.
doing their "Smells Like Teen Spirit"
Mhm.
cuts from that from those albums, and I think
Their second album had come out.
the
Yeah, that
second
was
album
In
had come out.
Utero. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so hearing them do that, and what MTV was great for doing was not only were they playing the actual music videos, but what they would do is they would edit those those unplugged performances and put them in rotation on their programming, and you could watch those live performances over and over again as they came up in programming. So, black people, we live for Nirvana. We love us a teen spirit. And so I absolutely love that performance. But when Yo MTV Raps Unplugged came along, that
Mm.
was an event, J. Ray.
It was.
That was an event. You had LL Cool J, A Tribe
Mm-hmm.
Called Quest, De
De
La
La
Soul,
Soul.
and
Mm-hmm.
the lone female rapper of the group, MC
MC
Light.
Light. Yep.
The only one, and she did Cappuccino.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody did probably about one song. I think
Yeah.
LL Cool J may have been the one that was able to go on a little longer, but LL Cool J's performance really stands out in my mind because at that moment I realized that he was more than just a rapper.
Mm-hmm.
I think he became fully realized because we had never seen him in that element, and I think nobody really expected these MCs, these rappers who are used to just having a microphone and a DJ or a DAT to rap to, could one keep up with a band
Yeah. Can we
and
can we stay there for a minute? Oh, keep going. And then I
absolutely
want to get back to that.
certainly to one keep up with a band and be in pocket with a band,
Yeah.
and also um not rely heavily on being overproduced. Like,
Yeah.
no, I can project.
Yeah.
I can rap and make you feel it right here in the front row, and you in the nosebleeds, you're gonna feel it too.
Yeah.
So everybody on that lineup, but in particular LL Cool J, really stands out in those performances, and really I think made people sit up and notice about hip hop even more, and really took a rapper seriously. And I think after that, and we're going to talk about bands here, you saw a lot more rappers taking bands on the road with them
Yes.
after MTV Unplugged.
Yep. That's exactly where I want to spend some time. I think this is such an important moment to kind of spend some time in this history, because you're absolutely right. What's so interesting about rap music is, as a culture, as a format, rapping was such a live experience. Like when it first begins, it's a live experience. It is this MC and this DJ kind of interacting with this crowd that's in front of them, right? And just kind of like coming off the dome and doing all this stuff. Um when rap transitions to a recorded art form, there's no model for doing what they were doing on stage in a studio yet. Like, that's not a thing. A DJ then wasn't able to go in and do what they were doing on stage in a studio. It just wasn't the time for that yet. So what rap was when it became a recorded art form was they would have bands that would be replaying these breaks in the studio, right? Because that's how you had to do it then. They were using the traditional production model of how records were produced in that moment in time and creating rap records on top of them. So these are bands in the studio playing with rappers rapping, right? By the time we get the drum machine, rap is its own thing, right? So we no longer need the band in the studio. Studios are more sophisticated. We're able to kind of do the things that we're able to do on stage in the studio now. We can sample the way that we can sample. We got this MPC. We're able to do everything that we can do. We don't need a band per se, right? So that's where we are when this happens, right? So we hadn't seen. This is pre-Diggable Planets. This is pre The Roots. This is after Stetsasonic, but Stetsasonic was just like a rare experience in hip hop. You know what I mean? Where you have this hip hop band. So could that be something that's commercially viable? And to your point, Sir Daniel, Yo MTV Raps Unplugged proved that, one, rappers could rock with a band. One, the band could be in that pocket, because the important thing about hip hop is the pocket. Like, that drummer has to be able to do that thing repetitively so that rapper can do what they do, but they can interplay. And so this proved that that was possible. I loved Light's performance in this MTV Unplugged. First of all, Cappuccino is just made for this environment. Shout out to MC Light and her storytelling. Like, we probably just need to do a show about MC Light's right, Midtown. You know what I'm saying? So I stepped in and I ordered a cup. So it's just such great storytelling. But A Tribe Called Quest, right? Who are a new band, right? They're a new group at the time when MTV Unplugged happens. They are still a 4-pack at this point, and doing Can I Kick It Live, and of course sampling, the band is playing Walk on the Wild Side, but they're holding their own. And I think, to your point, Sir Daniel, this was the moment when folks figured out, like, oh, hip hop is more than just people with a microphone and a DJ. Like, you can have a band, and this is pre-bands including DJs. Now it's regular to have a DJ within a band.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? The DJs is kind of part of the band like everybody else. But before this happened, that was completely rare. And it's such an important moment in hip hop history. And you're right, like LL showed that he was a superstar in that performance.
He absolutely did. And so when you fast forward to that was 1991. When we fast forward to 1993, in this moment, wow, Uptown Records, it has such a stronghold and has really not recreated, but has reimagined what R&B is, and really what it could be for the future. Because at that moment, Uptown Records launched the careers of some people that really changed the face of R&B and what R&B sounded like and what R&B looked like. And so when we talk about the Uptown MTV Unplugged, you're talking about a marriage made in heaven.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the Uptown roster by 1993, you've got powerhouses like Heavy D and the Boyz, Jodeci, the legend herself, Mary J. Blige,
Father MC. We can't forget Father MC.
Cannot forget Father MC. And but this is a very important moment for Mary J. Blige as well. Much like the rappers having to prove that they were more than just people who said words on the mic, Mary J. Blige was under a lot of scrutiny as well for her song stylings and her vocal ability.
I love that.
I love calling somebody a song stylist. And so this was a very important moment for her as well, because by 1993, Mary has, so What's the 411 is a classic record at this point. She's in our hearts. She's our girl. Squarely in the Black community, a generation. She's clearly our representative. And so in this moment, Mary J. Blige, I think, is at the forefront to me. And I think that this was a very pivotal moment for her to prove her vocal prowess, her stage presence, all the things that people were picking apart about her as an artist. And so, but we get some serious performances.
Yeah, we do.
With Uptown MTV Unplugged. Yeah. I mean, crazy. Heavy D. Listen, I'm going to let you talk because I could just, I could just yap on ad nauseum about this whole thing.
No. I think I want to underscore how important it is, going back to that idea of music had become so electronic.
Yes.
New Jack Swing at its core, keyboards, drum machines, da-da-da-da-do, right? This is Uptown's foundation, right? So this is an opportunity for Andre Harrell and a then young Sean Puffy Combs to take their artists and show the world, because really what this is a showcase for the world that this is sellable to white audiences, that white audiences would be interested in seeing this. So they had to package these artists up. That's why there's such an interesting variety. So we mentioned all of these like different types of artists. So, but it's all Uptown, right? So they're showing, oh, we got something for everybody. You're not into Christopher Williams. That's okay. We got a Heavy D. You're not into that. Oh, we got a Jodeci. Oh, we got a Mary. Oh, we got a da-da-da, right? But all of these artists really did, I think, show up in their fullness. And one of the most important classics that we do get out of this is Jodeci. So Jodeci takes Stevie Wonder's Lately, which is a beautiful song in itself, right? And reimagines it in their own style, being true to what Stevie created, but it is like for the artist now. And that song becomes such an important staple on R&B radio, you can still hear Jodeci's version of Lately on R&B radio today because it's so impactful. And we should also mention, Sir Daniel, one, this is the first label centric MTV Unplugged and might be only. I don't know if they ever did anything quite like this again. And we got a full release of this on Uptown as well. So you can still go back and listen to these performances. They repackaged them and release them as full releases. And even lately, Jodeci's lately, I do think they re-recorded it. So I think there's the live version, but then I think there's an in-studio version of it as well. But I think it's just really important to underscore that when this happened, this wasn't a sure bet. You know what I'm saying? Like Andre and Puff had to really work to make sure that this thing was packaged the way it needs to be packaged, and it went off the way it went off in order to work. And it's become one of the most important MTV Unplugs, period.
I think so. And there's something I want to go back to really quickly, a very important point that you made. This, particularly this Uptown Unplugged combination, was very important because we weren't getting a lot of live radio, wasn't playing a lot of live recordings at the time.
No. Mm-mm.
And so because of this this collabo between MTV and Uptown, we got live recordings in radio rotation again.
Yep.
You know, and there's only a few artists that, when you think about it, that radio would play live versions of their tunes, or their labels made live versions available to radio to play. So I think that that's something to magnify really quickly, just to say, you know what, this was also important to Black radio. And so that, because when you think about it as a listener, if I'm hearing, you know, Jodeci live and they're singing Lately, I'm more apt to say, you know what, when Jodeci comes to my town, my corner of the planet, I'm going to go see them, because according to this, they do the real thing live. And so I know I'm going to go and get a great show. So I think that's super important to radio.
Unplugged becomes kind of a mainstay in the MTV ecosystem for several years. And to that point of like live infiltrating radio, 3 years later, might be 4 years later, this might have been 97, a brand new artist who had released their debut album, Maxwell's Urban Hang Suite. Maxwell got his own MTV Unplugged. And I think what was so unique about this is Maxwell was still really new as an artist. He had definitely penetrated Black radio. Like, Maxwell was winning. By the time Ascension came out, which was song number 2, Maxwell was like in there. We was in there with him. But we got something super special with his Unplugged when he did his version of This Woman's Work. Once again, they had the live version, which I think is the definitive version of Maxwell's tune, but they also have an in-studio version of it as well. But what's so unique about this is, of course, he's taking this pop song that's a remake, sung by a woman, singing it in his falsetto.
Baby, he was up there.
Up there. I wonder, I've never seen Maxwell live. Let us know in the comments when you listen to this if Maxwell does This Woman's Work, and where is that key? Let us know, because in 1996 and 1997, he was way up there doing this. But radio picked up that thing, and we still hear that once again on R&B radio today. Quiet Storm, you're going to get This Woman's Work by Maxwell.
It just dawned on me. This is something very special about Maxwell's Unplugged to me. Maxwell's Unplugged was recorded at Brooklyn Academy of Music.
Shout out to
directly across the street, next door to 38 Lafayette,
Mm-hmm.
which is Hanson Place Seventh-day Adventist School, which is where a young DJ Sir Daniel attended school from the age of 2 years old up until 13.
Wow.
And Brooklyn Academy of Music was so important to us, J. Ray. I think I may have mentioned it. They would invite us, students, to come walk across the street and see performances. And that was such a those are such impactful moments to me in particular, to see live music being performed, to see dance, to see choreography, to see acting. I mean, thank God for Brooklyn Academy of Music, and it's still there. Thank God for opening their doors to us and allowing, you know, these young black kids, impressionable black kids, to just hold hands, because, you know, at that age we had to hold hands, to find a partner and hold hands and walk across the street and to go and check out this these performances. But yeah, finding out that Maxwell's Unplugged was performed at Brooklyn Academy of Music really, gave me a little oomph, a little BK pride, which is something that continued later on. I guess we got to talk about Lauryn Hill's Unplugged.
We do.
Yeah, okay, we do.
Okay. Okay. We do, from the perspective of
it happened.
It happened. Honestly, I have never heard that thing in full.
It's a heavy lift.
It's a heavy lift, but I do want to mention, for those that weren't there, when this release happened, this was before we knew what it entailed, because I don't think many people had seen the actual performance, but I remember the double disc release being, this was a big deal in the record store. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Borders, because it's Lauryn Hill. Lauryn Hill spent 1998 and 1999 conquering the world and had disappeared after that. So we were expecting something different than what we got. And what I think is worth mentioning is that Unplugged was willing to take risks, because Lauryn's Unplugged was absolutely a risk. It didn't pan out commercially, but it did give us a glimpse into what an unraveling of stardom at that time kind of looked like. This was not something we had seen in hip hop before. I think this was the first time where we were like, yo, what happened to Lauryn? And we got a whole record that chronicled it.
I think that sentiment right there, yo, what happened? That could be a t-shirt. Yo, what happened to Lauryn? Literally was echoed from hood to hood across America, because we were all looking like, I think people had just been so wrapped up in the whole doo-wop, that thing of it all, and the joy and the happiness of Zion and all that upliftment. And, she had, wait, where's her locks? Right. Where's the, she's not done up. Well, yeah, of course she had a baby. Okay, we can understand that. Is she pregnant again? Or, there's all of this stuff, all this real life stuff that's happening to this woman. And, in true human fashion, as consumers, we're selfish. We want doo-wop that thing. We want,
like, what is this?
That thing what is this? This is not bringing me joy. This is not happiness. And it reflected definitely. I remember because this was in 2001. So I was definitely working at HMV. And I remember those boxes and boxes of that CD just kept sitting there. It was just not something that people were drawn to and wanted to relive over and over again. I remember I got a copy, took it home, and I mean, I was just I was exhausted after listening to it. It was just, and then, oh, and this is something that we had not experienced either. She was breaking down and crying
Yeah.
in the middle of the performance. I don't think we've ever experienced
No.
that. Our generation
No.
has ever experienced seeing an artist have a real life emotional breakdown on television, and have it recorded so that we could hear it over and over again. And I think that part of made it unlistenable to a lot of people as well.
You know, it's so interesting. So I hadn't thought of that in that way, but I do think it is an interesting artistic choice, and I'm sure Lauryn had a piece of this, because there were a lot of false starts on this as well. Like, she was because Lauryn, she wasn't a proficient guitar player at the time, and so there was just a lot of false starts, or the song would almost be whatever, and most perfectionist musicians would be like, all of that gotta go. Just cut that whole beginning part out. I need this part, whatever, fade here. You know what I'm saying? Because I start crying and I don't want that in the thing. That's in the double disc. It's a double disc.
It's a
And
double
to
disc.
explain double disc, that means disc could hold up to like 70 minutes of music. This is a double disc.
And you bring up something very important. There's a lot of money at stake here too, because this is the label is putting up money. Musicians have to be paid. MTV is putting up its cameras, its lights, its Times. They've got Times Square, so the venue Times Square has to be taken care of in some form of financial form as well. And so she can't. This is not something that you can go back and say, you know what, guys, I'm off. I was a little off tonight. Let's just all come back tomorrow night and we'll do it again. That's not happening. That could not happen.
This is it.
And this is it. And so we literally, if you're interested, you can hear in real time what happened to this woman musically, and the reason why people were kind of like, it started this conversation around the validity of this star, the superstar that we had created as an audience. You know what I'm saying? It started that conversation, and people still to this day have this conversation of, oh, y'all give Lauryn Hill too much. She only had that one record. And it's like, is she really that dope? And it started that's the kink in her armor. And it started, I believe, at the release of her MTV Unplugged.
As we wind down, one, I have a question for you. And I'm curious about, but as we wind down, I'm thinking about this idea, like the Lauryn Unplugged is probably the most raw and really does live up to the idea of what Unplugged was supposed to be, right? This kind of very authentic experience of this artist interacting with their work, interacting with the audience and the musicians that are with them. And say what you want about the Lauryn Unplugged album, which I still have not heard and I probably will not hear in this lifetime. I'm just not, but it was authentic to where she was at the time. And I would be curious, she probably is good with it. I don't know if anyone's ever asked her like to reflect on it, because now we're at the 25th anniversary of it.
Yeah.
And I am curious to know what she thinks. And maybe that's a question we'll just ask on social media, like directly, like, yo, Lauryn, like, it's 25 years since Unplugged. Like, what do you think? Like, how do you feel about that body of work today? Let's definitely ask
as
that.
it sits in your discography and your body of work.
Yeah. So here's my question, Sir Daniel. What is one or two Unplugs that you wish happened?
I think we really should have gotten the MTV Unplugged Invincible. I know we got the 2001 performance and all that, but I know there was a lot of stuff going on, but I really do think maybe that could have pushed things over pushed that record, that body of work a little
Yeah.
further.
Yeah. Me and you are in the exact same space. If there's the one unplugged that I wish happened, and I actually don't wish it was Invincible, but I think it should have been released at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I truly do wish Michael Jackson just went on stage and did Michael Jackson History of Songs. Like, can you imagine a stripped down Billie Jean and a stripped down Man in the Mirror where Michael Jackson is not being Michael Jackson? It's just him and the band and that voice. Baby, I don't need you to dance. You can tiptoe around that stage a little bit, but what I really need you to do is we just need to have a conversation because that voice and those songs are so timeless. So I'm with you. I wish that in 2001, ahead of the release of Invincible, that Michael Jackson had done an unplugged, a true unplugged, where it's like, no, Michael, you're not doing none of that. You literally we give you this stool and we give you a microphone and this band. Work it out, child. I wish we had gotten that.
But can I have one more?
Go ahead. Of course, yeah, you can, because I have another one too. I wonder if we're on the same page again.
I kind of wish we could, and we did kind of get it, but I kind of wish that there was a overlap or a collaboration between Sisters in the Name of Rap and MTV Unplugged, because we saw what MC Lyte could do with a band.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, Salt-N-Pepa has an all-girl band that they were on tour with.
Yep.
From DC, a go-go band. I can't remember their name right now. Was it For Pleasure or something like that? And Pleasure or something like that. Anyway, so MC Lyte, Queen Latifah, who is also touring with the band and doing stuff with the band. I think, and they were, for all intents and purposes, like the mainstays of female rap at the time. Like the hierarchy, it was them. They were the ones that were constantly on MTV. We'd seen them perform. So I think, and this is clearly a Sir Daniel moment here. I think that would have really done well and gone down in history as a great moment of an unplugged version filmed by MTV, because they really could do a great job of these pioneering women that really would have lasted still to this day. And we probably could have gotten some really great live performances to play on the radio, like we mentioned the other ones of the past. And that would be my other one.
I love that. My other one, and this is a dream one, would have been an official The Roots, Bahamadia, and Gangstar Unplugged. Ooh. That would be so crazy. Like, just think of like the power of like having that go down. You got the jazz inflection of Gangstar. You have with Bahamadia, right? Bahamadia is kind of the center because she's bridging Gangstar and the Roots together. You know what I mean? Man, that would have went crazy.
That would have gone dumb. Yep.
Yeah.
Primo beats, unplugged versions of Primo beats.
Yep.
That would have been something
crazy, man.
Listen, well, we can't even say MTV call us because
we can't do that, unfortunately. No more MTV.
So before we get out of here, though, we gotta take it back to Brooklyn.
Yeah. So
was this the final?
It wasn't the final unplugged. There were unplugs after that. But it really did solidified Jay-Z as just an interesting artist who, here's the thing. For all the things we want to say about Jay-Z and his dominance as a pop culture figure, Jay-Z is also a squarely an artist. Mm-hmm. And just speaking of the Roots, right? Him pairing with Questlove to pull together the band for the official Jay-Z Unplugged is a moment in time. So you get this overlap of Philly and Brooklyn happening, and it is one of the best unplugs that they ever released because, everybody was firing on all cylinders for that joint.
Yes. Now, noticeably missing from this unplugged performance, because I think what had Jay come off of where Mary J. Blige was featured on heavily on like Living in the City, and some other records. It was Mary had also appeared on Reasonable Doubt,
Yeah.
for some of his biggest hits,
Yeah.
Can't Knock the Hustle.
Uh-huh.
So people were expecting to see Mary, but Boys and Girls singing lead vocals was one Jaguar Wright, who at the time she
She
did her
was
big.
that girl. Like she was the next up. Like
She
we looking
sat
at Jag. She's that girl. She's about to be
she sat
next.
in there. She stood up in Mary's boots
Uh-huh.
and sang her face off, and she put her spin on it, because you can't listen to that unplugged version of Jay-Z and not think, damn, Jaguar Wright is really putting down some good piece of singing on this project. And so you did your big one on that one, Jaguar.
You know, my how things change.
My, how they have changed.
Y'all, but thank y'all so much for hanging out with us. Like MTV Unplugged was such an important it was important TV. It was a way that you could see some of your favorite artists in a context that they weren't normally in. And shout out to them for leaning into it. But and we appreciate y'all for hanging out with us as we went down memory lane. What's one of your favorite MTV Unplugged performances? Let us know in the comments. And so if you can hear our faces and see our voices, subscribe, share the show with your friends, family, your colleagues, because if you love Q Points, chances are they will love Q Points as well. Visit our website at qpoints.com. That is the foundation for all things Q Points. You can listen to our archive shows. You can become a member, which gives you all types of perks and really dope stuff that you get. And you can read our blog, and then make sure that you go ahead and shop our store at store.qpoints.com. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all.
We certainly do. And like we say at the end of every episode, in this life, you have a choice. You can either pick up the needle or you could let the record play. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
And my name is Jay Ray, y'all.
And this is Q Points Podcast, dropping the needle on Black music history. We will see you on the next go round. Peace.
Peace, y'all.